Well, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're interested in a video with a bit of tinkering of some older products compared to new products, then you're in the right place, because today we're looking at mini drivers. There's lots on the market when it comes to older generation mini drivers. The price of the new mini drivers certainly going up, but how do they actually stack up compared to, let's say, my 3-wood in the bag? I've got the GT280 by Titleist, I've got the SLDR mini driver by TaylorMade, and I've got the club that I use in my bag, which is the GT2 3-wood. There's a slight difference in lofts, but let's get into it in this video. Okay, so why am I even doing this testing? Well, I think the 3-wood is the one club in my mind that has been overlooked over the years. We've been focused so hard on drivers and what we can do with the driver and getting it down there, more in play, more yardage, all of these sorts of things. But the 3-wood really should be the go-to club, shouldn't it? If you're struggling a little bit, let's say, in your round of golf and you're needing a backup club off the tee, if your driver goes a little bit wobbly, you need a club that's going to go into your bag that's going to, well, pretty much guarantee you hitting a fairway. And the problem you have, or a lot of players have, is that actually when they finally go to hit their 3-wood, it's almost like they haven't hit it that much, and therefore the consistency with that 3-wood just isn't there. So finding a club, I think, that's going to be a go-to off the tee when all goes wrong with the driver, I think is really, really important. And as you can see, oh, I spooned that. Luckily, I've gone round the corner. That wasn't obviously planned, and now I've got a shorter shot into the green. I was trying to get it down the middle there, but this is what I'm talking about. You know, I never hit this club off the tee. I generally hit it off the fairway, and I'm really good with it off the fairway. But off the tee, I'd rather go to my 5-wood than I would, let's say, my 3-wood. Now, my friends at Titleist have sent me out the GT280 mini driver that they've got in their stock. Now, you've got to remember, this driver retails at around the £450 mark. That's what we've seen it for online today. So it's quite punchy, isn't it? If you're looking for a 3-wood, the GT2 that I've got is coming out about £100 less than that. So this is quite punchy, but what the great thing about these mini drivers is, in my mind, is the fact that the profile in them is bigger. And I think for lots of golfers, and including myself, lots of golfers are going to want to see a slightly bigger profile because they feel like they've got maybe a little bit more confidence, certainly more from, obviously, off the tee box like we're talking about today. God, I'm really cutting that corner now, aren't I? That's perfect. Absolutely perfect. And I got it out there, what's that, 260? I mean, that's gone some. So we talked about tinkering. Well, I decided to have a little look online to see if there was some products out there that might be able to compare to what I'm currently having a little play around with, which is the GT280 from Titus. Well, I found a really good looking SLDR mini driver online. Now, you got to be careful when you start looking around for clubs online because, you know, this is 2014 this club came out, and it's got a few little marks around it. Luckily for this one, there was no sky marks on it, so it looks pretty clean when you set up behind the ball. When you turn it over, there's a few more dinks, but you've got to expect that when you've got a club that's now over 10 years old. It's been through, well, it's been through some war, isn't it? You know, it's been out on the golf course and hopefully put some scores together for the player that had it previously. But I paid £80 for this club, which included the shipping down to me. And I thought to myself, well, how does a club that's over £450 compared to a club that is £80? I thought today we could have a little test and just see the numbers of what they're actually producing. Now, the important thing that we got to note from the numbers that I'm going to share with you as we go through this video is that the GT2, I've left them in standard because I just want to leave it as stock because this one isn't adjustable, the SLDR TaylorMade. So we've got 13 degrees of loft in the mini driver by Titleist. I've got 14 degrees of loft in the SLDR by TaylorMade. And I've got 13.5 degrees of loft in the Titleist GT2, which is the club that I'm using in the bag right now. So you're probably asking, well, why have you gone for TaylorMade? What's with TaylorMade mini driver that you've kind of gone with? Well, my brother uses a mini driver. Tommy Fleetwood uses a mini driver, both by TaylorMade, and it performs really well for them. But this one here, the SLDR, historically, the SLDR driver, you remember the campaign of loft up? Well, the idea of the SLDR was that they told you to loft up because they basically got it wrong. They ended up making a driver that was super low spin, and they asked everybody to loft up because they knew that most golfers were never going to be able to hit drivers with such low spin and get control of the ball. Lots of tour players going out with 10.5, 11 degree, even 12 degree drivers to be able to keep the ball, well, keep control of the ball. So I thought, well, SLDR Mini, that might have the same effect. Low spin head, get it at 14 degrees. I might get a high launch bombing club out there. So that's the reason why I went for this particular club, but also I've got a TaylorMade 5-wood in the bag, which is my go-to club. I love the look of it. I love the fact that it's white. This one's in silver. And to be honest with you, when I look down at this club, it does feel a little bit like, well, at home for me. Cool, I'm really hugging that left side, aren't I? Go on, carry past the Christmas tree. Got past it. Good yardage, 240 off the tee. So the question that I've got for a lot of you out there who are watching this video now is, why would you consider putting a mini driver in the bag? I've heard a number of reasons why people do it. They struggle with their driver, so they want something that's maybe a little bit shorter in length when it comes to the shaft. They want something that's got maybe a smaller profile than their driver. They want maybe something with a little bit more loft that can give them a bit more spin and just feel like they can hit a few more fairways. But then you've got the other golfer out there that maybe wants a club that's going to go a little bit further off the tee than what they're getting out of their current 3-wood, or a club that is again slightly bigger in its profile because the 3-woods just look a little bit too small. For me personally, I would probably go down the fact of trying to find a club that I can get out there just a little bit further off the tee box, because I don't want it to run into my 5-wood too much. I'm always trying to get away from my 5-wood because it's such a good club and it's powerful. I also like the fact that these profile of clubs are just a little bit bigger, again, inspiring lots of confidence going out onto the golf course. But anyway, I've hit some balls off the tee peg. Let's get some numbers for you and just show how these three are comparing. So off a tee peg, remember, I've gone for off the tee, so I'm just pegging it up just a little bit off there, so I'm gonna get that strike just a little bit higher, which is what I would do, let's say, on a normal situation on a golf course. GT2, the 3-wood to start us off with from a ball speed point of view, 144 mile an hour. Compare it to the mini driver of Titleist, the GT280, 145, so an extra 1 to 2 mile an hour quicker off the face. But the SLDR ball speed, 146 mile an hour. Sounds a little bit more, but it's only about 0.2 mile an hour quicker than what we're getting out of that GT280. The most interesting thing that I've seen from these clubs is the launches of them. 13.5 degrees of launch that I'm getting out of the 3-wood compared to 14.3 degrees that I'm getting out of the GT280 mini driver by Titleist. And then, look at this one, a whopping 16.8 of the launch from that SLDR mini driver. Added a bit more loft on it, it's gonna launch a little bit higher. Then we go to spin numbers, which is actually, I think, falls perfectly into what we're seeing and what I would expect, really. The 3-wood giving me 3.3 in the spin. The mini driver of Titleist giving me 3.1 in the spin. And then SLDR, a little bit more spin at 3,400, nearly 3,500 revs. So definitely launching it higher, definitely spinning it more. And then peak heights, 36 for the 3-wood, 38 yards high for the mini driver by Titleist, and then 45 yards high that I'm getting out of that mini driver. All showing us that that mini driver is getting it up quickly, spinning a little bit more, holding up in its flight. But here's the big one that you'll want to know. How far does it actually go? 229, so basically 230 that I'm getting out of that GT2 3-wood. 236, so a little bit further out of the mini driver, and then 231. So if I'm honest with you, not a great deal of difference from it, but that mini driver by Titleist just getting me out there just a little bit further. And if you saw from what I hit there on those first couple of shots that we got, that GT280 by Titus definitely went a lot further there as well. So actually some really good numbers that I'm seeing from all of those clubs, of which I think I would have the confidence to take all three of them out on the golf course and be pretty positive in the fact that I'm going to use it quite well off the tee. Maybe getting just, like I say, a little bit difference in the peak height, so my windows might change with them just slightly. But the key ingredient for me really is where it comes to coming off the deck. And I've done lots of testing with mini drivers over the years, and one of the key factors that I've struggled with is that from a strike performance, the strike always comes out what I feel a little bit low in the face. And actually, at times, it feels like I'm literally hitting it off this bottom rolling edge here. And with fairway woods, I almost want to see a fairway wood, especially if it hasn't got a great deal of loft on it. I want to see a sharp leading edge. That sharp leading edge is going to allow me to dig that club a little bit into the ground and push my strike location a little bit higher and give me to launch it just a fraction higher. So what ends up happening with a mini driver off the deck is that the ball speed really drops off because I've hit it really low in the face. The ball comes out super low. It then revs up a little bit and gets a little bit more height. And then generally, I'll miss it down the right-hand side. So I'll just hit these little weak, kind of poor cutty shots. Whereas when I've always hit this, well, this 3-wood has worked really, really well for me off the deck, if I'm brutally honest with you. I feel like I can really get the launch out of it that I'm looking for, and I'm not fighting it down the right-hand side. You know, that one there carrying 235 yards in the air. I've pretty much hit my target, haven't I? So I'm pretty accurate when it comes to my 3-wood off the deck. However, when I've done the testing on the GT280, even though when you put your thumb across the bottom, it feels like it's got a nice leading edge there, feel like you can dig that out a little bit from there, definitely feels really deep in the face. And it doesn't give me, I would need to have a really fluffy lie, a really good lie to be able to really launch this one off the deck, but it doesn't give me the confidence that I got with that 3-wood. But let's have a little go with it. Interestingly, I caught that little in the toe, that one. So it's dropped off probably in its ball speed. It's only carried about 228 there, so it's a few yards down from what I got from the 3-wood. I just want to hit one more because that was a little bit unfair. The 3-wood was struck really nicely. That one was caught a little toe, so the gear effect is going to want to keep it down that left-hand side. But that wasn't actually, to be honest with you, it wasn't bad. Oh, that's not bad either, is it? Again, both a bit toey. That one's not geared as much down the left-hand side. It's probably just held its flight just a little bit more. To be honest with you, I don't know what's going on with this particular club, but it feels actually quite easy. Again, that leading edge on the front there makes it feel really easy to get it up in the air from that position. Let's have a quick go now with the SLDR by TaylorMade. So I got a beat 236, really. 2.7 on the spin. That's that toey strike again that keeps that spin off. I don't feel like I'm going to be able to spin it that low with this particular club. Let's have a go off the deck. Yeah, there you go. There's that thin one. So I caught it really thin there. It's only gone 211. Really need that leading edge in my mind. I really need to get the sense like I can get it to dig in, but it definitely looks more rounded when you set up down by the ball coming off the deck. Let's let's be fair to it. Let's give it one more go. Just noticed also that I didn't need to hit that 3-wood twice, did I? Let's give it one more here. That was good as well. That's similar to what I got out of the Titleist, as in like a feel from the strike performance point of view. Again, a little bit out the toe position, but didn't struggle getting that up in the air, did I? But 3.6 in the spin. So I've gained 1,000 revs of spin from hitting this SLDR compared to what I got out of the last swing with that GT280. Carry-wise, 225. If I rocket my 5-wood, I can get my 5-wood to go out at like 220 to 225. And this is the problem, you see. I'm now running back or falling back into where my 5-wood would sit. So it's interesting, isn't it? I've hit some other shots and got some numbers from all 3 of the clubs off the deck just to get a bit more of an idea, and I don't need to bore you with those numbers too much. But interestingly, the SLDR ball speed is around the sort of 140 to 142 mile an hour off the face. The 3-wood that I've got is around 143 to 144, but this mini GT280 by Titleist is just giving me a little bit more at that 145 mark. So, I'll be honest with you, again, there's that little cutty one, and that's that fight. That's the one I'll be fighting when I'm out on the golf course with this one here, which is the GT280. But I'm definitely getting a little bit more ball speed out of the GT280 when it comes to hitting it off the deck than I am compared to what I'm hitting with that SLDR by TaylorMade. So you got some decisions to make, haven't you? And the end result of this, really, what I kind of summarize when it comes to all three of these clubs is that, you know, the difference between a £450 club and an £80 club that you'd have to sort of, you know, rummage around on a few online secondhand sites, should we say, the difference between them really off the deck, I'm not seeing massive amount. I'm certainly not seeing 360 to 400 pounds worth difference. I would say that the technology in the GT280 over the SLDR is definitely improved slightly. I would say that the feedback that they've got from players off on tour that want to hit these things off the ground and maybe just giving them, you know, making them move in the direction they've gone to when it comes to the tech that's in the heads. But you have to make a decision really when it comes down to, I think, do you want a club that's going to work well for you off the tee box, or are you looking for something that's going to give you a little bit more off the fairway? If you're looking for something that's going to give you a little bit more off the fairway, I'd probably stick to maybe a 3-wood in some way, shape or form, or even a 4-wood to get the launch up. But if you're wanting something that's going to replace your driver off the tee, then definitely consider looking at a mini driver. But also don't be afraid to look at the second-hand market, because there's some absolute bargains out there. The other thing as well, you need speed. To get these balls to go launch nicely off the deck, you need lots of swing speed to be able to create that. So if you're somebody that's maybe a little bit older or doesn't swing the club quite as fast as maybe some of the other players that you play with, then maybe consider looking at a 3-wood with a little bit more loft. Interesting testing. I don't see me putting the SLDR in the bag from what I've actually done in here today. However, I do want to take it to the golf course and give it a little bit of a whirl and see how it performs, because, you know, it's a freshie for me. It's new out the box. I want to put it to the test. But I think all in all, my GT2 3-wood is still staying in the golf bag. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you again on the next video.